You know, there's an old saying, growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional. And that's true, right? But a lot of guys in their 40s, 50s, and 60s still act like boys, not men. Now, chances are you're probably here because you've reached a point in life where you recognize that you could be doing better. Not just with your style, but with your mindset, your habits, and how you basically move yourself through life. So let me try to break this down. And as we go through this, I want you to ask yourself honestly, like, where do I still operate like a boy and where am I operating as a man? The first thing that separates men from boys is responsibility. Boys blame, right? They point fingers at their boss, their ex, their parents, and just their bad luck in general. Everything is someone else's fault. But men take ownership. Like, even if they're not like 100% at fault, they still ask, like, what could I have done differently and what can I do better next time? And here's why this matters later in life. The second half of your life is all about you taking the wheel now, right? You can't afford to be a passenger anymore. The people around you, your partner, your kids, your business colleagues, they're all counting on you to step up. But the thing is, when you accept responsibility, you give yourself control, and control equals freedom. Then we have discipline versus impulse. Boys live for the next big thrill, right? They want everything right now. Fast food, fast girls, binge drinking, and basically wasting money on the latest shiny toy. But men understand discipline. They play the long game. They know that consistency beats impulse every single time. Discipline is saying no to short-term comfort so you can say yes to long-term results. It's sticking with the workout program when motivation is gone. It's eating clean most of the time so you can feel strong in your 50s and beyond. It's building a financial plan instead of burning through every single paycheck. Look, don't get me wrong. Impulse feels good in the moment, but discipline builds a life that you can be proud of. Then we have investing in your health versus neglecting your health. Boys think they're invincible. I mean, we all did at some point, right? Boys eat garbage, skip workouts, and never have that thing on their foot checked out. But men know better. Men understand that health is wealth. Men invest in their bodies through exercise, diet, and of course, regular blood work. Men need and want to be strong for their families and their friends. They want to enjoy their later years, and they want more energy, vitality, and of course, longevity. Now, nobody said discipline was easy, but it's worth it in the long run. And at least for me, part of that has to do with having a skincare routine. Now look, you don't have to do what I do, that's fine. But I think once you reach about your mid-50s, there's gonna be a day, and you're gonna look yourself in the mirror and wish you would have done something sooner. And for the record, I'm 56, and sure, I've got some wrinkles on my face, but I've got a heck of a lot less wrinkles than the majority of men my age. I don't know if that's genetics, DNA, or because for about the last 8 years, I've been using skincare products every single day. It's just become part of what I do. The thing is though, I don't do anything super crazy because, look, if it was difficult, expensive, or complicated, I just wouldn't do it, right? I know myself. The products that I use are from Tiege Hanley, and I've been spending my own money on this stuff every single month for, like I said, about the last 8 years. Look, it's a simple system that takes all the guesswork out of it with no cluttered countertops, and it only takes a few minutes. Also keep in mind that these products were designed right from the start specifically for men. They're simple to use and it only takes a couple minutes in the morning and before bed. Now, these are performance-driven formulas that handle the different requirements that men have, and that's all in an effort to make sure that you feel great about the way your skin looks and feels. They've got a ton of different products, but I would recommend starting out with their level 1 system, which comes with all the basics. You'll get a daily face wash, an exfoliating scrub that you use about twice a week, a morning moisturizer with SPF 20, and a nighttime moisturizer. And to make it really simple, they provide a little cheat sheet in every single box telling you when to use, how much to use, and in what order. And look, you don't just have to take my word for it. You can trust the millions of guys who use Tiege Hanley with over 16,000 5-star reviews. And Tiege Hanley thinks you will agree. That's why they're going to give you their handsome guarantee. Love it or get a full refund, no questions asked. And because Tiege Hanley is sponsoring this video, they have an amazing deal for everyone who's watching this. Save up to 40% on your first box today and get a free gift valued at over $20. Plus, if you sign up as a member, you will get 20% off for life. For the free gift, you can choose between the body scrubber, which is great to use in the shower, or you can get their high quality manicure set. Again, completely free. You can now find Tiege Hanley in hundreds of stores all across the US. Just click the link down below to find the store near you. Or if you want the best offer going right now, shop through that link below and start a life-changing skincare routine today. Okay, now this brings us to another big one, and that's control of emotions versus random outbursts. Boys are basically ruled by their emotions. They snap super easy when they're angry, they mope around when they're sad, and they brag when they're insecure. Now, men also feel emotions, of course, but they don't let emotions take over. They know when to just take a second and breathe, and then respond instead of reacting. Now, that doesn't mean that men are emotionless robots. It just means that they're leaders. And leadership starts with leading yourself correctly. If you're able to control your emotions, you can kind of control the energy in the room. That's presence, that's influence, and that's also power. Now, hopefully you're still sticking around because I've got a lot more good stuff coming up, including this next one, and it's providing value versus taking. Boys are consumers. They'll ask, like, what's in it for me? Men are contributors. They'll ask, what can I bring to the table? And this applies basically everywhere, in friendships, in business, and of course in dating and relationships. A boy takes, a man gives. He gives his time, his energy, his knowledge, his presence, and his ability to lead. And here's the irony, right? So the more that a man gives, the more he actually receives, including respect, opportunities, sex, and it all flows naturally to the guy who adds more value. Here's a big one, and it's confidence versus approval seeking. So boys crave validation, right? They want every single person to like them, and they'll change their opinion depending on who's in the room or who they're talking to. Men, though, are grounded, right? Men don't need everyone's approval because they know exactly who they are. They stand by their values, their boundaries, even if that makes them unpopular. Now, this doesn't mean that men are arrogant or stubborn. It just means that these men are grounded. You can disagree with me and I'll still respect you, but I won't break my back trying to be liked. After 40, confidence doesn't come from being the loud guy. It comes from having lived enough life, making enough mistakes, and learning enough lessons to know your self-worth. Another one, mentorship versus competition. Boys compete with basically everyone. They see other guys as rivals. If somebody else succeeds, they feel smaller. But men, on the other hand, know that there's plenty of room at the top. Men will mentor, encourage, and help and collaborate. They know that when you reach back and to the guy behind you on the ladder to help him up, you come up too. Here's another one, style with substance versus flashy trends. Boys tend to chase logos, right? Because they want the hottest brand, the flashiest sneaker, and the biggest designer brand name. They think clothes make the man. But men know better. A man's style is about fit, fabric, and being more subtle. It's about wearing clothes that work for your body, your personality, and your lifestyle. Not what all the 20-year-olds are hyping up on TikTok. Men don't need loud brands to prove their value. Their experience and self-respect and self-worth does that for them. And here's the kicker. A well-dressed man in his 40s doesn't look like he's trying, right? He simply looks like he respects himself, and that's the flex. Then we have consistency versus excitement only, right? So boys love the honeymoon phase. They love to rush in and start something new, whether it's maybe like a workout program, a job, or a new relationship. But the second it gets boring, they bail. But men know that success is built on consistency. It's not about how excited you are on day one, it's about what you're doing on day 100. Consistency can be boring, but it's also extremely powerful. That's how muscle is built, that's how businesses grow, and that's how trust is earned. Now this brings us to boundaries versus people pleasing. So boys can't really say no because they're afraid of disappointing people. They want to keep everybody happy, even at the expense of themselves. But men know their limits. They set boundaries and they say no when they need to protect their time, energy, and values. And this is really one of the most freeing lessons that a man can learn, and it's that you don't owe everybody access to you. Your time and energy are precious, so protect it. Then we have long-term thinking versus only living for today. Boys burn themselves out chasing fun in the moment, and they sacrifice tomorrow for today. And trust me, men still enjoy life, but they also think ahead. Men take care of their bodies so they can play with their grandkids. They build a career or a business with longevity in mind. They save money instead of blowing it all on the weekend. Another big one is relationships built on respect versus conquest. Boys chase numbers, right? They want the attention, the validation, and the ego boost of winning someone over. Men look for respect, connection, and depth. Men know how to lead in relationships without controlling. They create safety and stability, which allows a woman to be able to relax into her femininity. For a boy, relationships are more about taking. For a man, relationships are all about building. And one last thing, gentlemen, if you enjoyed this one, please hit the like button for the algorithm and consider subscribing if you're not already. Thank you very much for watching. Live well, and I'll see you in the next one.